Hello everybody, Julianne here, and today I am doing the Jurassic Park Book Tag. I was not actually tagged to do this, but I love Jurassic Park, so I'm gonna do it. Question 1. What is your favorite dinosaur? I am going to have to go with this guy. Oh. He's dead. I'm gonna have to go with this guy here. I will put a picture up here of me first meeting him. He doesn't have a name, I was an infant. But I will put a picture up here-ish. I don't actually know what kind of dinosaur he is. I think he would be a Brachiosaurus. He kind of looks like a Brachiosaurus, but if you have an actual... his head... I'm so sorry. If you know what kind of dinosaur he is, let me know. I think he's a Brachiosaurus, but he's my fave. Hence the damage to the neck area. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So the next question is Alan Grant. Name a character you think would survive Jurassic Park. And my answer is probably a little obvious. Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. I always forget that it's shiny and it doesn't pick up well on camera. Trust me, this is The Hunger Games. Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Probably pretty self-explanatory, but I think she'd be good. She's got her arrows, she's smart, she can climb trees. I mean, she'd be fine, she'd manage. Question 3. Ellie Sattler. Yeah. Name a character who is willing to risk their life for the others. And for that, I chose Aslan. Aslan? Aslan? I chose the lion. I think it's pronounced Aslan. But now I'm second guessing myself because my mom likes to call him Assland, as in land of asses. Now I'm questioning my entire childhood. But him. Question 4, Ian Malcolm. A book in which you could predict the ending of. For that, I don't think I'm completely alone in this. I believe I've seen other people mention this, but The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. About halfway through, I think I marked it. I don't really know what tipped me off. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about, but... yeah, so about page 140-ish. Kinda just hit me and I went, I think I know what's going on. I think I know. Question 5, Dennis Nedry, a character who is willing to put others at risk for their own benefit. And I went with Goatman from Goats by Marc Jude Poirier? Some French name? I don't know. This book, if you do not know, is a coming-of-age story about this kid named Ellis. I believe he's 15 years old. He has grown up with his mom in Arizona, I think? And his dad lives across the country in New York with his new wife. Doesn't really see his dad much, doesn't really have that great of a relationship, but he's got a pretty decent relationship with his mom, who's kind of whimsical, wishy-washy, hippie-ish. Yeah. And he also has a really great relationship with their pool guy? I forget his exact title. But their pool guy lives in the pool house behind their house, takes care of the pool, grows a ton of pot, and also has 2 goats. And there is a scene in this book where he decides to sneak across the Mexican border to sell drugs with his goats, and he takes Ellis with him. He takes this 15-year-old boy on an illegal trip across the Mexican border to sell drugs. this because money, and Ellis is really good with the goats. The goats aren't a huge fan of Goatman. Ellis is pretty good with the goats. So he goes, you know what? This will be a hell of a lot easier if I take this 15-year-old child with me and don't tell him what we're doing. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, sneaking across a border with drugs is dangerous. So, Goatman. Read this book, by the way. I know my description did very little justice, but it is beautiful. Read this book. Question 6. Brachiosaurus. A book that took you a long time to finish. I went with The Lord of the Rings, which took me probably about 2 months. We all know what this is about, not going to bother with an explanation, but it took me a while. I mean, it's a long book, but it's also very dense, which probably didn't help. I mean, there's scenes that just kind of feel unnecessary. The writing, occasionally, most of the time it was okay, but occasionally the writing just, I kind of like, I think I mentioned in another video that I kind of felt like I was on the same tedious legs of the journey at points because it was hard. It was hard to get through. Totally worth it. If you haven't read it, read it. But I don't think I'm gonna ever reread it. It took a while. I think I'll just stick with the movies for the re-immersing myself in this world. Yeah. Question 7. T-Rex. A book that you found intimidating but ended up loving. Which I don't really get that question, because, I mean, the T-Rex is cool in the movie, but I feel like in real life, I wouldn't end up loving it. I'd probably end up crapping my pants, to be honest. But the book I chose was Swan Song by Robert McCammon, and I'm realizing the irony right now, because, again, loved the book, but in real life, not so much. This book is a chunker. It is... holy shit. It is 956 pages long. It's a big book. I already read it and I'm like, oh. It's a big one. This book takes place after nuclear war and didn't end well for planet Earth. We are now in the apocalypse. It follows several different characters' journeys throughout after the apocalypse occurred. It was a good book. I was terrified because of this. I flew right through it, to be honest. I think it took me... I mean, it's almost 1,000 pages, which I didn't realize. And I'm, like, intimidated all over again, but I think it took me, like, 2 weeks, which pretty impressive for 956 pages. Jesus Christ. Question 8. Velociraptor. A book that was fast-paced. I chose my beloved A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachman. This book, I mean, jeez, Louise, so good. This book is about a man called Uwe. He is described as the grumpiest man you will ever meet, a curmudgeon with staunch principles, strict routines, and a short fuse. He thinks himself surrounded by idiots, and no wonder with all those happy joggers and shop assistants who talk in code, not to mention the perpetrators of the vicious coup d'etat that ousted him as chairman of his neighborhood's residents' association. People think him bitter. But must a man be bitter just because he doesn't walk around with a smile plastered on his face all the time, doesn't always tell people what they want to hear, and remains silent when he has nothing in particular to say? In short, Uwe's kind of a dick. And I love him. He's described as an old man in the story, but I think he's only like 56 when the story starts, which really isn't that old. The story opens up with him yelling at a florist, I think, because his coupon doesn't mean what he thought it meant, and he's calling her stupid, and he's just a dick. He's basically a dick. Family moves in next door with 2 little girls and a 3rd baby on the way, and they just completely turn his life upside down. Despite the fact that the main character is 56 years old, it's a coming of age story, which I love. And yeah, it was just, it's told in alternating between the past and the present, which I thought was really great. I loved it. It was so lovely. It was such a lovely story. I flew right through it. I think I read it in a day. And I mean, it's not a long book, but I'm kind of a slow reader, and it's over 300 pages long, and one day, it took me a day. Read it. Question 9, Pterodactyl, a book that flew you to another world. And I mean, technically, this book takes place in our world, but it's very fantastical. I chose The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Gaiman? We all know what I'm talking about. I don't even know how to explain this book. This guy goes back to his old hometown for a funeral and remembers this one summer that just was completely crazy and fantastical and mythical, really. This mythical summer. And it was kind of, I don't know if it was supposed to have actually happened or if it was just some fun thing he imagined for that summer, but you can come in. You're a human, you have hands. Hello.
Bye.
Bye.
Can I kiss you?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm
Bye.
just kidding. Come here. Bye.
Bye.
It's my mom.
Bye. See you later.
Have fun at work.
No.
That's not nice.
Love you.
I forgot what I was saying, but read this book. It was great, and just it felt completely like a different world, even though technically it's our world. And I loved it. And I loved it. And the final question is Triceratops. Tag 3 people. I probably should have planned this out a little better. I suppose that I will tag... Who's done this? I don't know who has done this already and who hasn't. I don't know. I will put you down in the description bar if you are tagged, and yeah. Gonna have to remind myself to plan a little better next time. So, that is it. That is it for this tag, and I will see you guys next time.